So write down what's most important. If I was only allowed to do, say, 6 things next week, what would they be? Write them down, put a time limit on each one. Not like, I think that'll be about 4 hours. No, I'm going to allocate 3 hours. I'm going to be disciplined. Put that on, put it into your calendar, because if you don't map it onto your calendar, how do you know if you can fit it in?
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Life podcast. Today, I am very excited to be talking about a topic that for me is one of the most interesting topics, something I find fascinating and study all the time. And we have with us David Wood from Focus.CEO. He's a former consulting actuary to Fortune 100 companies, including Sony Music, Chanel, and Exxon. He left his cushy Park Avenue job 20 years ago to build the world's largest coaching business. He actually became #1 on Google for life coaching, served an audience of 150,000 coaches. He's the author of Get Paid for Who You Are, and he's done a lot of great work in the field. The list of accolades could go on, but I'd rather just jump right into it. So, Davo, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Well, thanks, Talor. I'm glad to be here, and I never know what I'm going to say, so I'm kind of curious, as maybe the listeners are, to find out, what we're going to dive into. And I hope, I'm sure we'll get to some good stuff. They're going to help people maybe 4x their clarity, their intentionality, and their productivity, so they can crank through whatever it is that they care about.
That sounds amazing. And as listeners know, I love this stuff. When we talk about mindset and these types of whatever you want to call them, mental models or strategies or things like that, this is what really makes the difference, because everyone can kind of know what they need to do, but then it's like, why are we not doing it? What are some strategies that can help us get better at that? So yeah, excited to jump right into it. Why don't we start with, where do you want to start? What do you think is the best place?
Well, I've done a lot of improv in my life, and so I rarely script things out, and I like to move intuitively sometimes. And what just came up for me was something that I've been wanting myself to do for months, but haven't been doing. And I get really interested in, how do we coax ourselves to do the things we know are going to lead to what we really want? Let's leave aside the question of what do you want, and are you clear on that, and have you written it down? And we'll assume for the moment you have goals, and most people are not moving at full pace towards their goals. When you do, when you have those moments and you have those days, you probably feel like a hero. It's wonderful. But most people aren't acting in alignment to go at full pace towards what they really want, and that feels a bit off. You feel it in your body. You feel a bit out of integrity, and you're like, oh, I know what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. So this is a weird place to start, but I just thought about that. I've been wanting to lift weights, and I used to do it, and then I stopped doing it. I think we had a hurricane here in Asheville, and it kind of threw out a lot of my routine, and now I don't do it. And I don't want to do it, but my brain says this will be really good for you. And so, how do you get yourself to do that? And one thing that works for me is to have a coach, because I get to talk about the things that I want and talk about maybe why I'm not doing it and what it would take. And I realized in a conversation about it that I need to be engaged. I need to have something else that I can do while I'm lifting weights, like maybe learn something or watch a good TV show. But I don't want to start with TV at 8 o'clock in the morning. So when I was asked the question, what would it take for you to want to lift weights? I said, well, I'd have to have some kind of course that I'm really interested in, so I feel efficient. I'm watching it, I'm lifting the weights. It was that easy. I went to ChatGPT and I said, give me a course on AI focused towards this on video so I can watch it while I lift weights. It gave me the course this morning, put it on, did 30 minutes, done. So I mean, that sounds so simple, doesn't it? But listeners, think about all the things that you know you could be doing or should be doing, and all the things you're probably doing that take away from that.
Yeah.
And I'd say a lot of us are going at about, let's say 20% of the pace we're capable of in terms of productivity. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, Law, it's really
Hmm.
fine. I'm not saying it's wrong what you're doing. I'm just saying if you're interested in more intentionality, if you're interested in um, really being clear on what would have your life be better and then be super productive on the days that you want that, I'd love to help. I'm happy to help with that. I have business owners mainly come to me and executives who are like, I want to really be intentional about my days. I don't want to waste any time. And I got goals that matter to me. I'm like, all right, let's suit up.
That's amazing. Yeah, that sounds really great. And also, I agree 100% with having a coach. I've always had coaches, I've always had multiple coaches for the last few years. And
Yeah.
even if sometimes I go through, even if, I've had coaches for many years now, and sometimes it's like, oh, I've had them for so many years, but it's like just one little insight, that I get. It can be a 1 hour call, and all I need is one or two, well, big, and they end up being big insights where things that you're not aware of. Hey, like you said, like as simple as finding a program to watch while you work out, or
Right.
yeah, it's
That
great.
that's so crazy how close I was. How close I was. It's like a parallel universe was there with me lifting weights, and my universe and that universe was so close. All it took was the question, what would make it more interesting?
Mm,
Boom. Okay. So I had a coaching session this morning with an executive, and I said, what matters to you? Like, what do you know you should be doing that would have your life be better? He said, exercise.
mm,
Okay, well, what's fun for you? And we get talking about it. Turns out he's got a real passion for running.
mm,
Like he started talking about a documentary and this book, Born to Run. And he said, but I don't have time to run. I'm like, really? You got all this passion. You want more work-life balance, but you don't have time. Only took 5 minutes. Only took 5 minutes for him to realize that if he prioritized 3 runs a week, he'd work out what to do with the rest of his time. He'd drop a meeting that he doesn't have to go to anyway. It was really no big deal. And all it took was the focus and
mhm.
asking the question, what do you want? I've got a great quiz, which I'm going to offer at the end, if it's okay with you. I'm going to offer it
Please.
to all listeners for free, which is I call it a business assessment. But even if you don't have a business, you can use this to assess your own goals and what's in the way for you. And there's a number of metrics that you can work out, like what you need to work on for yourself. So kind of it's a little bit like a self-coaching form, and I'm happy to give that away because it'll focus you on what matters. Where am I going this year? And how do I know when to do the happy dance at the end of the year? How will I know if I nailed what I said really mattered?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, would love for you to share that quiz and any resources that could help people here. But yeah, this is so fascinating because it's amazing how just a simple question or reframing that a coach or someone can do with someone can just completely change the way something works in their life. It's really incredible. I'd love to hear more about them. What are some other like interesting questions maybe that you ask different executives or people you've coached over the years?
Well, the first thing is let's start with what do you want? And this seems so obvious, it seems almost trite, but boy, it's a tough question for some of us to ask. It's a bit
Mm,
confronting. I just this morning a client was, wow, man, I can tell you what I don't want. I said, okay, so we can start there. So if you want to have an exercise or assignment, this could be as little as 5 minutes. Write out what you don't want this year, and then write out what would real success look like for you. Now, for some people, it's money. For some people, it's creating 10 more hours of time for themselves to work with a charity or learn Russian or be with the kids. But write it down. I was rudderless for a while, which is ironic since I'm a coach. But for a while, I kind of lost direction, and I ended up in bed a lot of days playing video games. And during the pandemic, a doctor suggested I try cannabis for sleep. Well, guess what? I liked it. And so I smoked every night for 5 years. And being rudderless just doesn't feel that good, particularly for people with masculine energy, because we really need a direction and we need a big game to play.
Mm.
So I had to go and get a coach again, and I had to ask, what do I want? I don't want this. I don't want this life, but what do I want? And it didn't take long to work it out. I want a long-term relationship that's inspiring to me. I want to own a home in the US. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and I've got a place in Australia, but I want to own a home here and have a home base here for the rest of my life. And so, all right, I got to get my finances in order and earn this much money so I can qualify for a loan and whatnot. It changed a lot. It
Mm.
changed a lot. And I do this for my clients all the time, but it was good to do it for myself with the help of a coach. Okay, what's got to change? So lifting weights is one thing. Stopping the cannabis became pretty clear. It's like, that's not going to support you. But first I had to do the research. I had to listen to Huberman's podcast and just find out what does it do to your brain. And, smoke every now and then, no big deal. But chronic usage was definitely sapping my power. So that went. And then what's the plan? What are you going to do? And I came up with 5 different games to play to start generating revenue. And I tell you, I had doubt, as most of us will. When you set big goals and you decide to go for them, you're going to have some doubt. That's part of the game. But without doubt, what you produce would have no value.
Hmm. Hmm.
So doubt's actually cool, because then you got a great story when you nailed it. I doubt that I'm going to win the next pickleball tournament and get the gold medal. So when we did win it last weekend, it was awesome, because it's like, I don't know if we can do it. So I said all these actions and then got into massive action, because that's easier sometimes than doing a little bit. I like that too. If you need to take baby steps, take baby steps, but sometimes it's better just sit with a coach or some smart friend and then work out I created all these actions and I cranked it out for just 2 weeks every day. And in a space of 10 days, I got 42 new clients.
Wow.
That's I did not expect that. That was kind of crazy. But if you take massive action towards your goals every day, you feel good. And someone said to me, something's got to work. You're trying 5 different things.
That's right.
And you know what? So far, almost all of them have produced bigger results than I would have expected. So I guess my point is, wherever you're at, if you like the pace you're at, then cool, keep having fun. If you think, wait a minute, I'm probably operating about 20%, 40% of capacity, and I could be just more intentional, more disciplined, you'll feel really good at the end of the day. And then the bonus is you might get your goals achieved. I mean, my financial position now compared to a month ago is ridiculously different. I was going to take out a bridging loan because basically I took a vacation for 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. And it was awesome until it was like, all right, let's get back to it. So wherever you're at, work out what you want, create a plan, however you need to do that. And then I've got some tips for how to actually stick to it. And you'll feel like a hero at the end of the day. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. That's the feeling I want you to have. As a bonus, you'll probably really achieve your goals. But I just want you to feel good each day that you did it rather than you goofed around, you were really busy, you responded to everybody else's agenda by answering emails and doing texts and being in meetings and doing calls, but you didn't move the needle towards what you most want. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're not really clear on that, so there's no need to be productive. Doesn't really matter. Just go about my day. There's so many people. I say, how are you? They say, oh, same old, same old. If you love the same old, then don't change a thing. But if you want to kick it up a gear, um, I'd love to help you do that.
Yeah, that's really great advice as well. And a couple of things stood out to me from what you said. One is, and this is something I would say too, is like I tried a lot of different things. So kind of like, well, first getting clear on what you actually want. And so for me, I take a lot of time in the morning for just thinking and kind of high level thinking and asking myself kind of questions like this as well. I don't think many people do that. Many people wake up, they just get into their phone, they get about their day, they do things, and they don't even actually take the time to think. Now, it's a lot easier if you have a coach asking you the questions for sure. But getting clear on what you want, having that first step, and then helping kind of eliminate the indecisiveness and the inaction. It's like, well, I'm not sure, should I do this or that? And I would just kind of just start taking massive action. And yeah, if I tried 10 things, even if 7 of them failed, I got 3 successes, right? And then people, and then you might say, hey, you got lucky. No, you didn't get lucky, because I actually only had a 30% hit rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. People see success and they just assume either you're lucky or you just know how to succeed. But they don't see the thousands of things that I've tried that failed.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands. I'm a big fan. Tony Robbins has been talking about massive action for a long time, and Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup came to my event and spoke to people, and he was saying the same thing. He talks about the law of large numbers.
Mm.
So when my friend says, "Well, something that you're doing's got to work," you know, I booked a commercial in Nashville because I do acting on the side, and that came through, and I got paid for that. And then I thought I'm going to finally rent out the downstairs and get some income from that. And so I went. That worked out, and she's installed, and there's more revenue. I cut a whole bunch of expenses. Um, I got 22 new executive clients, and then 20 pickleball clients because I do pickleball coaching on the side for fun. Um,
Nice.
and then there's podcasting like this, talking to you and talking to audiences. This is often how I attract the right people. I speak about what I care about. And if someone hears this and goes, I think I could really use a coach, let me talk to this guy and see if he's the one for me. Um, I was just on a podcast that's had 160 million downloads. Isn't
Nice.
that something? And that hasn't aired yet. So that when that happens, look out. So I'm hoping that people listening to this are like, all right, I don't have to succeed with every action. And some of the stuff I do is going to fail. In fact, it could be a lot of it, but take a lot of action consistently every day. And again, if you want, we can get into how to stick to that and how to show up. Um, I think your future self will thank you. Your
Yes.
short-term self is like, whatever. I can goof off today, or I'll just try and multitask on 6 things, even though I know I can't do it. And I'll feel really busy and feel really productive. Short-term self is fine with that. Long-term self is like, hell no. You got to listen to law. You got to listen to David Wood, and let's work for the long term so that 6 months from now we are super happy with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and we're calling our friends saying, I just achieved this goal. I really went for it, and I nailed it.
Yeah.
If you've got a job, you might want a promotion. You might want to learn something that'll put you in a certain position. If you got a business, you might want to double it or triple it. Um, I mean, I work with so many different goals. I really encourage you, if all you take away from today, 2 things: spend the 5 to 10 minutes writing down what you want, and use the assessment I'm going to give you, which will help you clarify, this is where I'm heading. This is what I've got to overcome to get there. I think it'll really help you this year. And
Nice.
then
And yeah, let's get
being
into
in
the
action and
next.
sticking to it is different.
Yeah, let's get into the next step that you mentioned.
Cool.
Can't wait
All
to hear
right.
it.
Great. So let's assume you know what you want and
Hmm.
you've got your goals, and then you've worked with a friend, you've talked to Chat GPT, or you've worked with your coach, and you've got a plan. Then, so that 1 year is what I call the first level of gamification. You gamified your life over a year. You've said, this is the target. Now you got a game. You might also want to list the things you will not do. What am I willing to give up to have this? An example for me, I'm willing to give up working on the guitar and the piano this year, and I'm giving up travel so
Mm-hmm.
that I can focus on these other awesome things. So that's the first level. The next level for me, and you can do quarterly, you can do monthly, but the next level for me is really like next week. What's my week look like? And it's surprising how many people don't actually commit and say, this is what I commit to next week. Look at your goals and say what matters most, and then don't write down 20 things on one list, because you know that you can't do all those things. So write down what's most important. If I was only allowed to do, say, 6 things next week, what would they be? Write them down, put a time limit on each one. Not like, I think that'll be about 4 hours. No, I'm going to allocate 3 hours. I'm going to be disciplined. Put that on, put it into your calendar, because if you don't map it onto your calendar, how do you know if you can fit it in? And this is where you make executive decisions. My business is called Focus.CEO, and I'm pointing to my hat for people watching the video for a reason. We have a CEO in us that can make executive decisions. It's just he or she is asleep at the wheel, generally. So during this date with yourself, this CEO date with yourself, once a week, say 5 o'clock on a Friday or 9 a.m. on a Sunday with a cup of coffee, this is when you make executive decisions and say, I can't fit that in. All right, I'm going to have to give up on that. I'm going to put that on my dream list, because I'm dreaming if I think I'm going to get to it next week. But if I do get everything done, I'll pull my dream list out of a drawer. So you're making your commitment list, you've got your hours, you put it in the calendar, and then you make executive decisions like, I have to cancel that meeting. I have to ask Bill if I can push that back a week,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't fit all the things that I want, or I'm going to have to let go of this one. And this one, instead of the 2-hour version, we're going to shorten that meeting to 15 minutes. You make all those decisions for your week, and then you've got a plan. Then the game, now you got a game. That's the second level of gamification. And everyone's going to ask you to do stuff, and you're going to think of new stuff to do. And the game is that more important than what I've said? And if it is, I'll have to shuffle. I'll have to move something, shorten, I have to adjust. Or can I push back? Because now you got a game. Before you got a game, there's no reason to say no. But now you've got these commitments to yourself. So you might be like, can I get that to you next week? Or could John handle that instead? Or Jane? So you play that game called, can I stick to my agenda? And it's not easy, but now you've got a game to play. So that's the second level. I just want to pause to see if there's anything you want to say about that before we do levels 3 and 4.
Oh, I absolutely love that. I mean, it's such a great structure. Everything that you're talking about, it's not super complicated. It's actually quite simple, but yet very few people do it, and it's a great structure and organization. So yeah, please let's keep moving
Yeah.
on.
Well, let's skip level 3, because I want to, leave people wanting a little bit more, right? A little bit of a tease. And for time reasons too, because we don't have a lot of time left. So I'll jump to level 4. Level 4 is the next 25 minutes. Now, you can't play this game when you've got a bunch of meetings back to back and calls. Like I've got back to back calls today, so I can't do it. But tomorrow I got 2 hours in the morning. I can play this game. What will I do in my next 25 minutes? And people who have heard of the Pomodoro technique, yes, that's what I'm talking about. I am a devotee. I am a religious fanatic about this. You set a goal for the next 25 minutes. So if you've got a report to finish and you've decided the report's going to take an hour, then in 25 minutes, I must finish half the report. That's 2 pages. That's my goal. All notifications turned off. Set the timer, 25 minutes, go. Now that's a game. That's a game worth playing. That's a working meditation. And many people will fail at it, and that's fine. But you can at least take a shot at it and start to train yourself. Then when the 25 minutes goes off, you will not want to stop because you're in it. You're in the zone. You're in the flow. So it's counterintuitive, but you must stop, step away from the desk. Otherwise, how are you going to train your brain that you've only got 25 minutes when you can extend the container? So you got to be honest about it. Step away. You should have finished half of it anyway. And now you set a 5-minute timer. Go and do some push-ups. This is your break. You can check messages if you really want to cheat, but that could suck you into a whole other cycle. Cup of tea, sweep the floor that you've been meaning to sweep for a week, or, walk around the office, and then come back and do your second 25 minutes, which is finish the report. I love it. If I got 3 hours, that's 6 Pomodoros. 4 hours is 8 Pomodoros. And I write down what every single one is. And I write down, I'm starting at 9 a.m. I finish at 1 p.m. So there's no slippage. I'm going for no slippage, because if you don't play this game and track it, you could take a 15-minute break, or you could take 35 minutes for that task. No, you can't slip, because you got the next one. And if I'm late on the first one, I want to make it up in the next one and get extra productive. So I'm giving people a lot, and I don't expect you to retain it all or apply it all. With my clients, it can easily take a month, and bit by bit, we bring in these habits so that they become super intentional, and they're tracking. At the end of the day, they can say, I did 85% of what I said, and the stuff that I chose was the most important stuff, versus I just was busy doing a whole lot of things. So that's my rant on the 3 levels and the missing 4th level of gamification, so you can be intentional and have fun with your day.
I love that. That is so good, man. Devo, where you mentioned the assessment. Where can people find the assessment and follow you, and if they want to work with you or learn more?
Yeah, thank you. I have 3 offerings with no strings attached. This is not going to obligate me to work with you, and it's not going to oblige you to work with me. But the first thing is I'll offer the free assessment. It's called a business assessment, but use it for your life, use it for your work. It'll take you 5 to 10 minutes. And you can find that at Focus.CEO. It's not .com. I got the CEO domain. Focus.CEO/quiz. It'll take you straight there. And then a second offering, if you want me to review your answers and help you create the beginnings of a plan, I'm happy to give you 15 minutes of my time. And the reason I do that for free is because it's how I find the right people to work with. Not everyone's a fit, but the right people tend to find me, and we see in that 15 minutes, would coaching actually make a difference? Can I help you? Do you think I can? And if we can, we'll, if we both think that's got legs, we'll set a longer call to really go into it. We'll set up a coaching structure for you. And the third offer, I used to just charge a flat fee, and my fee's been $2,000 a month for years. But that only really is appropriate to people earning over $250,000 a year. If your business or your job doesn't provide that, I don't think you should be paying $2,000 a month for a coach. I think you should be paying less. So my third offering is, if you mention Talor and sliding scale in the notes, then if we both decide we want to work together, we'll pick a number that may be lower than 2,000. I've gone as low as $300 up to $2,000 a month. We'll pick a number that feels good for both of us, and we'll go forward. And my goal is to get you to a point in life where you can easily afford my full fee. So there's a bit of strategy to that for me as well. And you all three of those things are at the same link, Focus.CEO/quiz. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes as well. And I'd love to get on the phone with you if you get that far through the process.
Amazing. Davo, thank you so much. Every listener knows that I'm a huge fan of coaching. I have coaches for myself. I have trainers. I have, if you just this, it's so important. The best investment you can make is in yourself. And so, if this resonated with you, go ahead and go to Focus.CEO and get those resources or talk to David. So, Davo, thank you so much. I hope we can do this again sometime, man. If you have any final parting words, but really appreciate the time.
My parting words are thank you. This was fun. We, as humans, we have the ability to be intentional. The other animals, I don't think they have that. We have it. It's just this CEO inside us is often asleep at the wheel. So let's just wake that guy or girl up and be intentional and create whatever it is that you want. That's fun. And you're probably doing great already. What you're doing got you to where you are. So that's awesome. And there's always more, which is pretty fun.
Absolutely. Davo, thank you so much. I hope we could do it again sometime. Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, can you please leave us a rating or review and subscribe? I've realized that while we have actually increased our downloads a lot, we're actually getting a lot of downloads, which I'm really happy about. We actually have very few ratings. And I realized that I've never asked people really to rate much. So I'm asking you now if you could please rate and review and subscribe. And if you enjoyed the episode, please forward it along to anyone that you think will get value out of this. Also, if you haven't checked out our line of products at buypeakperformance.com, you get 20% off your first order. That's www.buypeakperformance.com. We have some incredible products, including our organic high-altitude coffee. If you don't know this, coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed with pesticides out of any crop. So it's really important that you drink organic coffee. We've gone above and beyond to source what we believe is the highest quality and healthiest organic coffee in the world. We're also famous for our organic green superfood powder. You can get 20% off of that as well at buypeakperformance.com. We also have an organic, vegan, and paleo plant protein. See, most of the vegan proteins out there are using brown rice protein, which is really not a good source of protein, and it's also a grain. And if you're paleo, you know that grains tend to cause inflammation in some cases for some people. And so we wanted to make one that was paleo friendly and vegan and organic. We made an amazing amino acid profile, so it's really one of the best plant proteins for muscle building. So you can check out Peak Performance Organic Plant Protein. You can find that on our website. Of course, all our products are on Amazon as well. So thanks again. And again, please, if you enjoyed the episode, please forward it along to someone who you feel can get value out of it. And please leave us a rating, review, and subscribe. Thank you.